I like the one about anything coming from the whole being whole in itself.
Oh, that's from Shishapanishad.
No.
Okay. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Translation and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyachade Shatarane. So we're reading from Adi-lila, chapter 4, the confidential reasons for the Lord's appearance, starting from text 30. Amiha na janitaha na. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya. Ah, that was right. Amiha na janitaha na jane gopi gana. Dunhara rupa gune dunhara nitya hare mana. Neither the gopis nor I shall notice this. Shall notice what? Shall notice that that it's by the influence of Yogamaya that they think he's their paramour. So neither he nor the gopis are aware of how Yogamaya is influencing them.
Yeah.
He also doesn't know. Neither the gopis nor I shall notice this, for our minds will always be entranced by one another's beauty and qualities. Purport. In the spiritual sky, the Vaikuntha planets are predominated by Narayan. His devotees have the same features he does, and the exchange of devotion there is on the platform of reverence. But above all these Vaikuntha planets is Goloka, or Krishna Loka, where the original personality of Godhead Krishna fully manifests his pleasure potency in free, loving affairs. Since I wonder if Prabhupada got that from the hippie idea of free love. Because he came in the 60s in San Francisco.
Yes.
And then this idea of free love. He manifests his pleasure potency in free loving affairs. Since this is the original free love. Since the devotees in the material world know almost nothing about these affairs, the Lord desires to show these affairs to them. Krishna wants to show us his loving affairs. In Goloka Vrindavan, there is an exchange of love known as Parikiya Rasa. It is something like the attraction of a married woman for a man other than her husband. In the material world, this sort of relationship is most abominable because it is a perverted reflection of the Parikiya Rasa in the spiritual world, where it is the highest kind of loving affair. So, and if you have a tree on the water, so here's the tree, here's the branches, and here's the water. So then in the reflection, it's going to look like this. The highest part of the tree, the top of the branches, is going to be the lowest part in the reflection. So in Goloka Vrindavan, the highest thing is Parikiya Rasa. And then when that's reflected in the material world, like, you know, a man or woman having an extramarital affair, that's the lowest thing. So what's I'm saying here? Such feelings between the devotee and the Lord are presented by the influence of Yogamaya. The Bhagavad Gita states that devotees of the highest grade are under the care of Daiva Maya, or Yoga Maya, Mahatmanas tu Mamparta Daivim Prakritim Ashrita, Bhagavad Gita 9:13. Those who are actually great souls, Mahatmas, are fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, always engaged in the service of the Lord. They are under the care of Daivi Prakriti, or Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya creates a situation in which the devotee is prepared to transgress all regulative principles simply to love Krishna. A devotee naturally does not like to transgress the laws of reverence for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by the influence of Yoga Maya, he is prepared to do anything to love the Supreme Lord better. Those under the spell of the material energy cannot at all appreciate the activities of Yoga Maya, for a conditioned soul can hardly understand the pure reciprocation between the Lord and his devotee. But by executing devotional service under the regulative principles, one can become very highly elevated and then begin to appreciate the dealings of pure love under the management of Yogamaya. In the spiritual loving sentiment induced by the Yogamaya potency, both Lord Sri Krishna and the damsels of Raj forget themselves in spiritual rapture. By the influence of such forgetfulness, the attractive beauty of the gopis plays a prominent part in the transcendental satisfaction of the Lord, who has nothing to do with mundane sex. Because spiritual love of Godhead is above everything mundane, the gopis superficially seem to transgress the codes of mundane morality. This perpetually puzzles mundane moralists. Therefore, Yogamaya acts to cover the Lord and his pastimes from the eyes of mundaners, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7:25, where the Lord says that he reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. The acts of Yogamaya make it possible for the Lord and the gopis in loving ecstasy to sometimes meet and sometimes separate. The transcendental loving affairs of the Lord are unimaginable to empiricists involved in the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Therefore, the Lord himself appears before the mundaners to bestow upon them the highest form of spiritual realization and also personally relish its essence. The Lord is so merciful that he himself descends to take the fallen souls back home to the kingdom of God, kingdom of Godhead, where the erotic principles of Godhead are eternally relished in their real form, distinct from the perverted sexual love so much adored and indulged in by the fallen souls in their diseased condition. The reason the Lord displays the Rasa-lila is essentially to induce all the fallen souls to give up their diseased morality and religiosity, and to attract them to the kingdom of God to enjoy the reality. A person who actually understands what the Rasa-lila is will certainly hate to indulge in mundane sex life. For the realized soul, hearing the Lord's Rasa-lila through the proper channel will result in complete abstinence from material sexual pleasure. Hare Krishna. You what?
So here he says that the last Leela that happens between the Gopi and Krishna,
Yeah.
that is a sort of a trance state, right?
A what?
That's the
Transcendental? Yeah.
that is the attraction loop. That's what he
Yeah. Yeah. He said it's very different from mundane men and women being attracted to each other.
Is it different because it's fully about?
That's definitely part of it. But it's also different because Krishna is the absolute truth. So then the gopis and his wives and Dwarka and everything, they're all basically not different from him. They're all his energies, right? Whereas, if you have a relationship with someone in this world, it's like they're not an expansion of you, and you're not an expansion of them. It's a separate individual. So it's really like I'm me and you're you, and yeah, either I want to exploit you to get pleasure for me, or I want to offer my services to give pleasure to you. But it's like two different people just trying to make themselves happy, basically, with or without Krishna being in the picture, in Krishna consciousness. Whereas with Krishna is different because everybody's actually part and parcel of Krishna. Everyone's the energies of Krishna. So it's not like, in one sense, there's a oneness, right? In one sense, it's like they're eternally individuals, so so that they can have a relationship and have loving exchanges and serve each other. But at the same time, there is a sense in which they are the same. There's not two things in existence. There's only one thing, and that's Krishna in all of the material and spiritual worlds, right? Because he's everything. So it's kind of inconceivable, basically. But anyways, we can just, yeah, because when we hear about Krishna going and dancing with the gopis in the middle of the night and things, when these gopis are married to some other so-called husbands, then we feel like, oh my God, that's not right.
even the trees still they look different, right?
Yeah. Oh, they say that the trees witnessed the pastimes, and that's why they're melted in ecstasy. That's what they usually say.
Oh, because in this world, in the material world, even the service you offer to another person is for maybe subconsciously, but for your own gain. Of some kind, maybe it's not the same
Yeah.
thing, but somewhere along the way, you think this person will give you shelter, or this person will help me this way or that way or something, or else you wouldn't be seeking shelter.
Yeah, basically Prabhupada said that there's always some vested interest or something, right? Like even when parents are taking care of their children, they want their children to be successful. Why? It makes them look, yeah, one, they're expecting some payback in their old age, right? That you need to take care of me, you need to provide for me financially in my old age and make sure I'm okay, take me to the doctor, whatever, you know? And then also there's a sense in which like when my son and daughter are successful, that's an extension of myself. Like people will praise me because I have such glorious children. Like I have something to be proud of, or people will respect me or, you know, applaud me. They'll think that I'm wonderful because I produced wonderful children. So there's definitely something there, right?
So in the Rasa Leela, so they don't have any. It's completely absent of any want of like, I guess, self-service or self-pleasure in any way.
Yeah,
I guess it's
Yeah.
completely like devotional. Yeah, that's the word.
devotional. Yeah. Everything that the gopis do, like not just Rasalila, but every single interaction the gopis have with everything they say, everything they do, everywhere they go, everything, what it's all just to give pleasure with Krishna, to give pleasure to Krishna without any expectation of something in return. Yeah, that's like the unique position of the gopis.
Do they not know he's God?
That's what it's saying, that Yogamaya covers them so that they don't know he's God.
So
And
they're-
Yogamaya also covers him so that he doesn't know he's God. Otherwise, you know, when they tell him off, he's gonna be like, hey, who do you think you're talking to? I'm God. But he's like, no, he's like, oh my God, she's upset with me. I'm in trouble. I need to go figure this out.
This yoga mind is only trans state, right?
Trans state?
Transcendental state.
Transcendental.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yogamaya is the internal potency, which is completely spiritual. It has nothing to do with anything material. So it's totally transcendental. Totally transcendental.
Trans isn't for trans.
Yeah, don't say trans because that's confusing.
Influence or something, which
Yeah.
kind of
Like in a trance, like a zombie mode.
I mean, through a lot of yoga.
You mean like for ourselves to understand what's going on here? Yeah, I mean, that's what Prabhupada is saying is that, you know, in the beginning of Krishna consciousness or for a materialistic person, they can't understand how these things are happening. And they tend to try to understand it based on their own experience or mundane perception, apply the principles of mundane morality to what Krishna is doing, and they end up just getting confused and bewildered. So Prabhupada says, anyways, don't worry, just go on practicing the principles of bhakti yoga, and these things will become clear in due course of time.
Is there a scenario where there displays that there's no way that they could have any personal desire involved other than his Krishna? Because if he's playing his flute, and they really like it, then maybe they want him to play his flute some more. Just saying, he plays a good flute.
I mean, he plays the flute and then he plays it usually to call them. And so they go running because they know that, oh, Krishna wants us to be there with him. So we're going. And they don't let anything stop them, even their husbands or whatever. It's the middle of the night. It's dark. There's, you know, it's in those times there's like a thick forest. It's like jungle with wild animals and they didn't have flashlights, you know, they were just like getting all of their clothes ripped and cut with thorns, and they weren't even dressed properly, and they're running there and then at risk of not being able to go back home again because, you know, if their families find out, especially if their husbands and mothers-in-laws find out, then they're in big trouble. So at big risk. But there is one pastime that specifically talks about that, and that is when Krishna has a headache. You ever heard that pastime?
Mhm.
Okay, so Krishna has a headache, and Narada Muni is there. So Narada Muni says, Krishna, what can we do? You have a headache. We can't bear to see you in pain. So then he says, yeah, there's there's only one remedy for this headache. This is really bad, but there's only one thing that can cure it. He said, it's the dust of the lotus feet of one of my devotees. Yeah. So then he's like, oh, okay, easy. We're here in Dwarka. There's so many devotees. We'll just go and ask them for some dust. So then he goes around Dwarka, knocking door to door. Please, can we have some dust? Krishna's got a headache. He said this will make his headache go away. They're like, are you kidding me? I can't put the dirty dust from my lotus feet on Krishna's head. That would be sinful. I'll go to hell. So he's like, all right, these Dwarkavasis are too much caught up in their mundane religiosity. Let's go and try. And where does he go next? He goes somewhere else. No, first he tries the Dwarkas. And as he goes to some Brahmins or something, he goes to the Brahmins. I mean, maybe he goes to the Brahmins first. And as he goes to a couple different groups of people, and they're all just like, no way, Narada Muni, are you out of your mind? We're going to go to hell for that. And then finally he goes to the gopis of Vrindavan. And he goes to Radharani, the gopis are there. And he's like, Radharani, I'm having some trouble here. I'm trying to get some dust from the lotus feet of devotees because Krishna has a headache and it's the only cure. And the gopis are immediately like, what? Krishna's got a headache? And the dust from our feet is going to cure it? Here you go. They're like scraping it off and putting it in the cloth, And then Narada Muni's like, oh, but don't you think this is a little offensive to take your dust off the bottom of your feet and put it on his head? And aren't you afraid of going to hell? And they're like, I mean, that's a possibility, but we don't care. We'd rather go to hell and suffer there eternally than for Krishna to have a headache. So then they say that that if my pleasure gives Krishna pain, then my pleasure is my worst pain. And if my pain gives Krishna pleasure, then my pain is my cause of my greatest happiness. So that's the gopis for you. They're very selfless. All they're thinking about, because if you think about it, like in terms of tattva, like philosophically, Srimati Radharani is the expansion of Krishna's pleasure-giving potency. Like she's the personification of the pleasure-giving potency. So her existence is all about giving pleasure to Krishna. That's who she is. That's just like what she's made out of, is Krishna's pleasure-giving potency. And she exists to give pleasure to Krishna. So everything that she does is just to give pleasure to Krishna. And then, because people like, just like we like variety, we don't want everything just to be the same all the time. Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're afraid, sometimes we're whatever, peaceful. So, and we like these changes of emotions, right? It makes life interesting and fun and exciting. And right. So Krishna likes varieties of experiences. He likes to experience different moods, different emotions and things. And so, sometimes Radharani is very submissive and very, serves him very affectionately. And sometimes she gets angry with him and rejects him. And sometimes just different things. She has all these different moods. And even like this Parakya rasa, which is, like if Krishna is the supreme controller, why doesn't he just arrange that Radharani is his wife? Then he doesn't have to sneak around. He doesn't have to worry. Like I was hearing a pastime last night that Radharani, Radharani was at home in her in-laws house where she lived after marriage, right? Her husband, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, they're all living together there. And so Krishna comes at night and he sneaks into the gate and he's hiding behind some, he climbs up a tree in the courtyard. He tries to get close to her window and then he's trying to call her. Oh no, what he's doing is he's making cuckoo bird sounds. It's like cuckoo, cuckoo. And then it gets Radharani's attention. So she goes out and she's looking at him and then they start talking. But then it also alerts Jatila, her mother-in-law, because she's like, cuckoos don't crow in the night. So she's like, that is not a cuckoo bird. It must be Krishna because who else is going to do something so whatever. So then she goes out there with a stick and she's following the sound. And it's night, so she can't see much. Plus she's old. She's a little partially sighted, so she's like, where are you, Krishna? I know you're here somewhere. And then she figures out that he's in that tree, right? And so she just stays there. She's she's like walking around the tree all night with a stick. And poor Krishna, he's like stuck in the tree and he has to be like totally silent. He's just like not moving, not breathing. And he's like, because he doesn't want to get caught because now he's like trapped basically up in the tree. And then he waits and finally she gets tired and she sits down under the tree and falls asleep and then he escapes. So why was I telling that story? Ah, yeah. So it's fun for him. Like it's adventure, you know. He has to come up with some plan, you know, to try always scheming and thinking and strategizing and consulting his friends and you know. So there's always some risk, you know, when things are risky, when there's a risk of getting caught, it's more fun, right? That's why kids are naughty and that's why people like crime and stuff because it's exciting. You get a thrill from that.
Nobody said anything. Okay.
They heard him. They heard him making cuckoo bird sounds.
No, but afterwards, later, nobody says anything to Radha.
That Krishna was there? I don't think so. I don't think they saw. Oh no, they saw that. Well, she was outside, and then he says that Jatila's out there by the tree, and then she sees that Radharani's light is on, and it's already getting late. So she says, "Radharani, turn off your light and go to sleep." Anyways, so if they were married, it would just be boring, right? It's like, all right, how's it going today? Good, yeah. Anything new? Nah. But this way, there's like always something new and always some adventure, something exciting going on.
I felt like most loved in past relationship when we did something like, I don't know, like slightly illegal, not like hurt anyone or cause any harm, but just like have a bonfire on a beach where like people have bonfires, but you know, you're not really supposed to, but people do.
Mhm.
And like, you know, just you like build it together, you know, you're doing something like slightly illegal. So it's
And there's
fun.
there's like a feeling, right? There's
There's
like,
ah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and you pull it off and you don't get caught.
Is there any full description of Adi-lila where we can read what happened?
Bhagavatam.
Bhagavatam doesn't talk.
I mean, she's there, it just doesn't mention her name, but it talks all about her without mentioning her name. Okay, let's go on. Text 31. Dharma chadi ragi duni karaye milana kabu mile kabuna mile diveragatana.
Pure attachment even at the expense of destiny will sometimes brings us together and sometimes separate us. But the gopis came out to meet Krishna in the dead of night when they heard the sound of his flute. Srila Rupa Goswami has accordingly composed a nice verse, Adi 5.224, that describes the beautiful boy called Govinda standing by the bank of Yamuna with his flute to his lips in a shining moonlight. Those who want to enjoy life in materialistic way of society, friendship and love should not go to the Yamuna to see the form of Govinda. The sound of Lord Krishna's flute is so sweet that it has made the gopis forget all about their relationship with their kinsman and flee to the Krishna in the dead of night. By leaving home in that way, the gopis transgressed the Vedic regulations of household life. This indicates that when natural feelings of love for Krishna become fully manifest, a devotee can neglect conventional social rules and regulations. In the material world, we are situated designated positions only. But pure devotional service begins when one is freed from all designations. When love for Krishna is awakened, the designated positions are overcome. The spontaneous attraction of Sri Krishna for his dearest parts and parcels generate enthusiasm that obliges Sri Krishna and the gopis to meet together. To celebrate this transcendental enthusiasm, there is a need of a sentiment of separation between the lover and the beloved. In the condition of the material tribulation, no one wants the pangs of separation. But in the transcendental form, the very same separation, being absolute in its nature, strengthens the ties of love and enhances the desire of the lover and beloved to meet. The period of separation, evaluated transcendentally, is more relishable than the actual meeting, which lacks the feelings of increasing anticipation because the lover and beloved are both present.
Yeah, so it's saying here that the Parakiya rasa is also very favorable for intense loving emotions because it means they can't always be together. So then there's time when they're separated. And then while they're separated, then they're just always even more intensely thinking about each other and thinking about when they're going to meet next. And the emotions become even stronger. And then when they meet after separation, then that meeting is like very wonderful, right? And then they're separated again and plunged into an ocean of pain of separation. And then they're just thinking about the next meeting. And then the next meeting is very wonderful. So it's always just increasing the love, increasing the love. Okay. Text 32. Ye saba rasa niryasa kariba asvada e dware kariba saba bhaktere prasada. Yeah, so this is Krishna talking, right? He's presenting his Raj pastimes, his Raj mood, his Raj associates, his intimate exchanges with the gopis and how it all happens and by the influence of Yoga Maya. And he's like, I'm going to go. And I'm going to go as my devotee. And I'm going to relish all these pastimes of mine from the position of a devotee. I'm going to taste the essence of all these rasas. And I'm also going to induce others to taste. Text 33. Rajera nirmala raga shuni bhakta gana raga marge bhajayena chari dharma karma.
Then by hearing devotees will worship him on the path of spontaneous love, abandoning all rituals of religiosity and fruitive activity. Purpose. Many realized souls such as Raghunatha Dasa Goswami and King Kulashekara have recommended with great emphasis that one develop the spontaneous love of Godhead, even at the risk of transgressing all the traditional codes of morality and religiosity. Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, one of his 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, has written in his prayers called Mana Shiksha that one should simply worship Radha and Krishna with all attention. No dharma, na dharmam, shruti gana viruddha, kila kuru. One should not be much interested in performing Vedic rituals or simply following rules and regulations. King Kulashekara has written similarly in his book, Mukunda Malastotra.
You can skip that. Yeah. Just read the translation.
Okay, I have no question. For sense enjoyments. Let them appear and disappear in accordance with my previous days. My only desire is to be fixed in devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord, even though I will continue to take birth here life after life.
So he wasn't even interested in liberation. He just wanted to serve Radha and Krishna. Yeah. My only desire is to be fixed in the devotional service of the lotus feet of the Lord. As far as my own happiness is concerned, let it just come and go according to my past karma. for whatever good things I did in the past, I'll be happy. For whatever bad things I did, I'll suffer, whatever. It's coming anyway, going anyway. Why worry about it? I just need to worry about serving Krishna, developing love for Krishna, serving him with devotion. And so he's also not interested in performing any religious rituals, because religious rituals are usually to try to either get material things that we think will make us happy or counteract bad karma, which is going to make us suffer. Right? It's either like to get something or it's to atone, like an act of atonement to protect us from some future suffering. So he's like, I don't care about my material happiness or distress. What does it matter? I'm going to get what I'm going to get. Let it come, let it go. But I am really concerned about my relationship with Krishna and being fixed in devotional service. Even if I stay in this world, doesn't matter. Because, yeah, like we were talking about in the morning, that when you're doing everything in connection with Krishna, then it's like you're practically in the spiritual world already. You don't feel the pains of material miseries so much. Okay, text 34. Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham deham ashritaha bhajate tadrishi krida yashutva tatparo bhavat.
Krishna manifests his eternal human-like form and performs his pastimes to show mercy to the devotees. Having heard such pastimes, one should engage in service to him. Purport. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-36. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable expansions of his transcendental form, who eternally exist in the spiritual world. This material world is only a perverted reflection of the spiritual world, where everything is manifested without negrity. There, everything is its original existence, free from the domination of time. Time cannot deteriorate or interfere with the conditions in the spiritual world, where different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are the recipients of the worship of different living entities in their constitutional spiritual positions. In the spiritual world, all existence is unadulterated goodness. The goodness found in the material world is contaminated by the moods of passion and ignorance. The saying that the human form of life is the best position for devotional service has its special significance, because only in this form can a living entity revive his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The human form is considered the highest state in the cycle of the species of life in the material world. If one takes advantage of this highest kind of material form, one can regain his position of devotional service to the Lord. Incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead appear in all the species of life, although this is inconceivable to the human brain. The Lord's pastimes are differentiated according to the appreciating capacity of the different types of bodies of the living entities. The Supreme Lord bestows the most merciful benediction upon human society when he appears in his human form. It is then that humanity gets the opportunity to engage in different kinds of eternal service to the Lord. Special natural appreciation of the descriptions of a particular pastime of Godhead indicates the constitutional position of a living entity. Adoration, servitorship, friendship, paternal affection, and conjugal love are the 5 primary relationships with Krishna. The highest perfectional stage of the conjugal relationship, enriched by many sentiments, gives the maximum relishable mellow of the devotee to the devotee. The Lord appears in different incarnations as a fish, tortoise, and boar, as Parshuram, Lord Ram, Buddha, and so on, to reciprocate the different appreciation of living entities in different stages of evolution. The conjugal relationship of amorous love, called Parikya Ras, is the unparalleled perfection of love exhibited by Lord Krishna and his devotees. A class of so-called devotees known as Sahajias try to imitate the Lord's pastime, although they have no understanding of the amorous love in his expansion of pleasure potency. Their superficial imitation can create havoc on the path for the advancement of one's spiritual relationship with the Lord. Material sexual indulgence can never be equated with spiritual love, which is which is an unadulterated goodness. The activities of the Sahajiyas simply lower one deeper into the material contamination of the senses and mind. Krishna's transcendental pastimes display eternal servitorship to Adhokshaja, the Supreme Lord, who is beyond all conception through material senses. Materialistic conditioned souls do not understand the transcendental exchanges of love, but they like to indulge in sense gratification in the name of devotional service. The activities of the Supreme Lord can never be understood by irresponsible persons who think the pastimes of Radha and Krishna to be ordinary affairs. The rasa dance is arranged by Krishna's eternal potency Yoga Maya, and it is beyond the grasp of the materially affected person. Trying to throw mud into transcendence with their perversity, the Sahajyas misinterpret the sayings Tat Partvena Nirmalam and Tat Paro Bhavit by misinterpreting Tadrisha Grida. They want to indulge in sex while pretending to imitate Lord Krishna. But one must actually understand the imports of the words through the intelligence of the authorized Goswamis. Srila Narottam Das Thakur in his prayers to the Goswamis has explained his inability to understand such spiritual affairs. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hai Beya Koti Kabe Hama Bujahba Se Yugala Priti. When I shall be eager to understand the literature given by the Goswamis, then I shall be able to understand the transcendental love affairs of Radha and Krishna. In other words, unless one is trained under the disciplic succession of the Goswamis, one cannot understand Radha and Krishna. The conditioned souls are naturally averse to understanding the spiritual existence of the Lord. And if they try to know the transcendental nature of the Lord's pastimes while they remain absorbed in materialism, they are sure to blunder like the Sahajiyas.
Okay, that was a long purport. Yeah, so these Sahajiyas are people that they claim to be devotees, but they're very materialistic. And then they see Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, and then they just make it out to be mundane, and they think, oh, we can do that too. And then they just basically get their own gopis and have something like an orgy or something and think that that's spiritual life. So Prabhupada is like, no, they're just like throwing mud into transcendence with their perversity. They want to indulge in sex while pretending to imitate Lord Krishna. Totally bogus. So yeah. He says that conditioned souls are naturally averse to understanding the spiritual existence of the Lord. And if they try to know the transcendental nature of the Lord's pastimes while they're absorbed in materialism, they are going to blunder like the Sahajiyas. So that's why we have to really, pray to Krishna for purification of the heart, for transcendental vision, spiritual understanding, try to chant really sincere rounds so that we don't make this mistake of the Sahajiyas and make everything just cheap and perverse. Because those Sahajiyas did a big disservice for Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So in this verse, it's talking about, Srimad Bhagavatam is talking about how when Krishna comes in the human form, then his pastimes are most wonderful. Because as Prabhupada explains here in the purport, is that the Lord's pastimes are differentiated according to the appreciating capacity of the different types of bodies of the living entities. So Krishna comes in different species, right? It was just the mailman. Just leave it. It'll still be there when the class is over. So like sometimes he comes as a fish, right? Matsya avatar. But when he comes as a fish, you don't hear of him having, like so many loving exchanges and interactions with other fish and things there in the water. He just comes and he does his work. He saves the Vedas, and then you don't hear about him after that. He comes as a tortoise, Kurma avatar. And then he goes down to the bottom. So turtles like to dip down in the water. So he goes down there and he gets his back scratched with Mount Meru and the churning of the ocean of milk. And then after, you don't really hear about him anymore. So why? Because fish and turtles don't have very developed consciousness. So they're not generally loving exchanges are between the same species, generally speaking. So because fish are not very conscious, then they're not going to be very Krishna conscious either. And so they can't appreciate Matsya Avatar as the Lord. And so they're not worshiping him, they're not praying to him, they're not serving him. And same with Kurma Avatar. So, but when Krishna comes as a human, then because human beings actually have the capacity to understand the Lord, to understand something about the relationship, there's actually an urge within the human psychology to know God, right? So we're actually, as humans, we're actually looking for that. We're looking for some connection with the divine in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Even say, even Shiva after listening to his. So he was not allowed to enter this. Krishna said it should be only feminine. So apparently, is it true?
Yeah.
Inspiring and professional margin. So
He protects. His service for Adi-lila is that he protects Vrindavan Dham from intruders, mundane people that go there and disturb. Okay, so yeah, we're very fortunate that we have the human form of life. We're able to understand these things. We're able to serve Krishna. We're able to have a relationship with him. We can chant his holy names. We can read about him, hear about him, talk about him, be conscious of him. And so we have to make the most use out of this human form of life while we have it. And especially on this earth, I was just reading a verse today from Bhagavatam saying that, the gopis are glorifying Vrindavan Dham. And then the purport, Sridhar Swami says that this earth that we live on is very special because Vrindavan is here. There's no other planet in this universe, where Krishna descended and walked on the surface of the planet and performed his pastimes and brought his Dham down here, brought his Yamuna, brought his Govardhan Hill from the spiritual world. So this planet is very unique, very special, very blessed. And so we're living in the most blessed planet. We have the most blessed species of life. We took birth in this body. We have so many gifts and opportunities. And so we really have no excuse. We have no excuse to not be Krishna conscious. We have no excuse to not, perfect our lives. Everything is here. And also Lord Caitanya came. We can go to that place also where he walked this earth. So doubly blessed. Like the gopis were talking about how blessed it is that Krishna came. And this was before Lord Chaitanya's appearance. Otherwise, they would have been really saying, wow, this planet is really something else. So we were very fortunate. And now, we were talking about how when Advaita Acharya was here, there were hardly any devotees. Lord Chaitanya hadn't come yet. And we didn't have, there was no Caitanya Charitamrita, right? They didn't have something to read. Even Srimad Bhagavatam copies were very rare because they didn't have mass printing facilities. They just, they had to copy. When Lord Chaitanya was traveling around South India, he happened to stumble across a copy of the Brahma Samhita, right? We were just reading that in a CC class in the temple. And he was like, wow, this is an amazing book. First time I've seen it, right? And he's a Lord, he's a pure devotee. And it's not like you walk in and there's a whole library of what to speak of database at your fingertips. You just put a word there and you get, it's we have so much. And then he had to stay in that town for a few days to get someone to copy it because they didn't have photocopy machines or, the camera, take a picture of the page. They had to write it out by hand. In those days they were writing with ink pen on palm leaves. And then he was carrying that with him. And so, and now we have books all over the place and practically every major language of the world, translated with purports explaining them. It's we're so lucky. We have opportunities that people in Satya Yuga didn't have. We are so blessed right now.
We can read it any place, anytime.
Huh?
We can read any place, anytime.
Yeah. Yeah, we can literally just pick up the phone and read Caitanya Charitamrita. If you speak another language, you just put it into Google Translate. It's there's all facility. Krishna's so kind. Krishna gave us all facility to make this life perfect. So we just need to do it. That's all. Just prioritize it. And trouble is we don't understand our good fortune. We don't understand really what's valuable. It's like, yeah, I was listening to my daughter Krishna Baba giving class today. It was a recorded class of the manner, and she was saying that there was this person, and he heard what a great personality. Somebody told him, "Oh, you should go meet Sanatan Goswami." So this was during the time of Lord Chaitanya. He said, "Oh, there's this great person who lives there. You should go meet Sanatan Goswami and ask him for the most valuable thing." So then he didn't say what that valuable thing was. So this man, he goes to Sanatan Goswami, says, "Oh, a friend told me I should come talk to you, and pleasure to meet you. And, you know, he told me that I should try to ask you for the most valuable thing." And then Sanatan Goswami looked at him, and he could understand his consciousness. So he's like, "Oh, yeah, sure. You can have the most valuable thing. It's over there in the garbage heap." And then the guy's like, okay then. So he walks over to the, place where the garbage is kept, and he's like looking, he says, "Yeah, there's a touchstone there. That touchstone is nice. It's very valuable. Whatever you touch it to is going to turn into gold immediately." So then the guy goes there, he finds a little touchstone, he takes it, and he's like, "Wow, this is something very special. And thank you very much." And then he goes away, and he's like touching this, becoming gold, touching that, becoming gold. Before you know it, he's like a billionaire. He's got more money than he knows what to do with. He's getting everything that he ever wanted, all of his dreams coming true. And then everybody's like, "Wow, this guy." But then he has some doubt in his mind. So he goes back to that same friend, and he's like, "I did what you said. I went to Sanatan Goswami. I got this amazing touchstone. I have so much gold and money and wealth and respect and position and whatever. But I'm confused about something. Why was it in the garbage? If it's such a valuable thing, why was he just keeping it in the garbage heap?" And then his friend said, "I don't know. You have to go and ask him." And then so he goes back to Sanatan Goswami after a while, when he's sufficiently frustrated, because at this point he has so much gold, he doesn't know what to do with. He's bought everything possible that he thought might make him happy, and he's still kind of like in the same, same level of happiness that he was before he even got the thing. So then he goes back to Sanatan Goswami. He says, "I was really overjoyed and very grateful when you gave me this gift, but I'm kind of realizing like it's not actually making me happy. That's one thing. And the other thing is you kept it in the garbage. Like, what's with that?" So then Sanatan Goswami says, "Yeah, actually this thing is useless." And then he says, "Okay, so what is actually the most valuable thing? I asked you for the most valuable thing. Why didn't you give me the most valuable thing when I asked for it?" And then Sanatan Goswami says, "Because you wouldn't have appreciated it. You weren't ready for it. Now that you've learned that this is not the most valuable thing, now you're going to appreciate what is the most valuable thing. But before I can give you the most valuable thing, you need to go to the lake and just throw that touchstone away, never to be seen again." So the guy, he was like, this time he had so much faith, he was just like, "All right." He went and threw it way out to the deep water, and then he came back, and then Sanatan Goswami said, "All right, now I'm going to give you the most valuable thing. You ready?" He's like, "I'm ready." He says, "All right, here it is. Listen carefully. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." Then, yeah, so he basically like initiated him on the spot. And then he went away and chanting Hare Krishna, and then he experienced real happiness by the grace of Sanatan Goswami. So, yeah, why was I saying all that?
What?
Huh? How to?
Sahajias.
Sahajias, they take everything cheaply. Yeah, because they don't appreciate the actual value. So they just want sense enjoyment, and they just use spiritual life for their sense enjoyment. That's not what spiritual life is for. So they just like twist it, and they make it all dark and perverted and disgusting and degrading and disgraceful. But the real valuable thing is actually having a relationship with Krishna, not enjoying our senses. But if we try to enjoy our senses and think we're going to get Krishna, it's like trying to start a water and trying to start a fire and putting fuel with one hand and pouring water on it with the other one. So the sense gratification, like pouring water on the fire, it's just putting out our spiritual life. Really have to throw that touchstone in the lake, let it sink into oblivion. Okay. Let's go to text 35. Bhavat kriya vidilin se ihakaya kartavya avashyai anyata pratyavaya.
Here, the use of the verb bhavet, which is in the imperative mood, tells us that this certainly must be done. Non-compliance would be abandonment of duty. This imperative is applicable to pure devotees. Neophytes will be able to understand these affairs only after being elevated by regulated devotional service under the expert guidance of the spiritual master. Then they too will be competent to hear of the love affairs of Radha and Krishna. As long as one is in material conditioned life, strict discipline is required in the matter of moral and immoral activities. The absolute world is transcendental and free from such distinctions because their inebriety is not possible. But in this material world, the sexual appetite necessitates distinction between moral and immoral conduct. In its sexual activities and spiritual. The transactions between lover and beloved in the spiritual world are pure transcendental love and unadulterated bliss. One who has not been attracted by the transcendental beauty of rasa will certainly be dragged down into material attraction, thus to act in material contamination and progress to the darkest region of hellish life. But by understanding the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, one is freed from the grip of attraction to material so-called love between man and woman. Similarly, one who understands the pure parental love of Nanda and Yasoda for Krishna will be saved from being dragged into material parental affection. If one accepts Krishna as the supreme friend, the attraction of material friendship will be finished for him, and he will not be dismayed by so-called friendship with mundane wranglers. If he is attracted by servitorship to Krishna, he will no longer have to serve the material body and the degraded status of material existence, with the false hope of becoming master in the future. Similarly, one who sees the greatness of Krishna and neutrality will certainly never again seek the so-called relief of impersonalist or voidist philosophy. If one is not attracted by the transcendental nature of Krishna, one is sure to be attracted to material enjoyment, thus to become implicated in the clinging network of virtuous and sinful activities, and to continue material existence by transmigrating from one material body to another. Only in Krishna consciousness can one achieve the highest perfection of life.
Amazing purport, this paragraph here. Prabhupada is talking about how basically in whatever way that we become attracted to Krishna, it's so completely satisfying and so ecstatic that it basically, what's the word? Supersedes or takes the place of, or kind of like removes it removes the need, like the material desire to have that relationship with someone else. Right? So yeah, he's saying that if we understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, then we'll no longer be attracted to having a conjugal relationship with someone in this world. Right? That's how all these Vaishnava sannyasis take sannyas and remain renounced, right? Is because they actually are attracted to Krishna. Right? They appreciate Radha and Krishna's love affairs, right? So they don't need to have their own love affair because they totally understand the pure conjugal loving relationship with Radha and Krishna. And then it says that if one understands the pure parental love of Nanda and Yashoda, you'll be saved from being dragged into material parental affection. So yeah, material parental affection is very entangling. It's very binding. Takes a lot of energy and it's very heart-wrenching. And so, but if we appreciate Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj's love for Krishna, then we're good. We don't need to have kids and get entangled in those complicated relationships. And if we accept Krishna as our friend, then we don't become like codependent in material friendships where one is trying to get something from the other. And it's like one time my husband was saying, yeah, one time I was saying that I wanted to have some friends, and he said, you know what, I have friends, but I don't know what kind of friends they are. And I said, what do you mean? He said, they basically only talk to me when they want something. They just call him up and are like, hey, can you help me out with this? Hey, can I borrow your whatever? Hey, can you get this for me? Or, oh, you're going there. You know, it's like in this material world, unfortunately, that's kind of like friendships are based on that for the most part. Right? Somebody does something for you that makes you happy, so they're your friend. And then if someone's attracted to Krishna, to serving Krishna, then he won't have to serve this material body and be dragged down by, you know, the urges of the senses. And if one sees the greatness of Krishna neutrality, then he's not going to be attracted to impersonalist or voidist philosophy. So in every relationship, you can find the perfection and the complete satisfaction of that relationship in Krishna and be saved from having to run around and, oh, I need this relationship in my life, and I need that relationship in my life, and I need this relation, you know, like, because otherwise we're so needy, and then we become codependent, and then we get stuck in, like, you know, relationships that are, you know, like abusive or just going nowhere. You know what I mean? Like most relationships in this world, but because we depend on that person because we have a need, right? But I need a friend. And so even though they're not a very good friend, but, you know, or I need a sexual partner, even though they're mean to me and maybe they cheat on me and maybe they, you know, hit me sometime or something, but how could I live without them? And, you know, so yeah, we get stuck in these, because we're needy. So, but if the only thing we really need is Krishna, you know, Krishna satisfies all needs. So then it doesn't mean that we won't have these relationships. We can still have relationships, but then we're going into it like as a whole person, not like as, you know, a puzzle piece that's missing its puzzle or something. You know, we're going into it like I am a whole puzzle. I'm the whole picture here. And yeah, we can serve Krishna together. And I don't need you, but I like you. You're a nice person and I appreciate you. And I feel like we can do more together than we can separate. So let's, you know, let's be friends, or let's get married, or let's, you know, whatever, start a business together, you know, or something, you know. So like that.
I really like what you said, Prabhupada Priya, because like many people go into like any kind of relationship out of like something missing. It
Yeah.
feels like not a good thing.
Yeah.
Like as you said, like, and then person can abuse you towards that need finding kind.
Yeah.
So scary. Yeah. So unless you are like happy within yourself, you should not go for any.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. Like as you said, like unless you're complete within yourself, you have to know like it's not gonna make you happy or like complete. You're already complete.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Yeah. You're with or without the person, you're happy.
Yeah.
You're not
That is
depending
so
on that person
important.
for your happiness. Yeah. So we have to be strong, be happy in Krishna consciousness, find our happiness within ourselves. And then we will never be disappointed, and we will never be like dependent on some, Prabhupada says here, mundane wrangler. He says, if one accepts Krishna as a supreme friend, the attraction of material friendship will be finished, and he will not be dismayed by so-called friendship with mundane wranglers.
But it applies for,
What's that?
it applies for both.
Yeah. Yeah, male, female, and also just friendships between two women, friendships between two men. Like if you have somebody who's serving you in some way, like a master servant, it applies to all the relationships.
I think I'm a good time, but I have this like strong feeling to go into this job that I want to go into. And I went inside and I just had this feeling like, hey, like, wait, you should talk to this person. It's like, okay. So I stayed and I talked to this person and got to know them, and like we're still friends, and they're the most selfless person I've ever met. And like
Cool.
full of love and like, yeah. Cool. And
That's
like
really
we
nice.
don't like meet each other, we just. You're awesome. Cool. Good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of friend you want. All right. Oh, it's 5:02. We better stop. Get very far. We had a lot of long purports and a lot of like deep topics. Yeah. We didn't even get all the way around to Divya. Sorry, Divya. We'll start with you tomorrow. Oh my God, usually we go around like 5,
That's
6
all
times.
good. That's all good. I had fun listening. It was really, really good class, really enlivening. Thank you all so much.
What was that? Anyways, Nikesh
Could you
is,
hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. You said you're fine. You were having a good time listening.
Oh yeah. Thank you all so much. It was such a good class.
Jai. Nikesh today was on YouTube. He says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Jai. See you tomorrow. Shri Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.